Hello and welcome. My name is Errity Green and this is Wise Woman Oracle and Tarot. And today I am bringing you a pick a card reading on how to accomplish your goal, aim, or dream. So this is going to give you the exact steps as to how to accomplish your goal, aim, or dream. And I look forward to hearing how these readings resonate for you. So of course, if they do resonate, I encourage you to like, subscribe, press the bell icon. That way you receive notifications every single time a new reading pops up. If you want to get to know more about me, you can connect on the other social media platforms as well as check out my website. And last but not least, I am going to place a picture up now of your 3 card piles to choose from today. As always, you are choosing from left to right. Card pile 1, how to accomplish your aim or dream. All right, so card pile 1, you're going to focus on your gifts, okay? You're just going to focus on your gifts. There's something important about speaking up, sharing your voice, sharing your ideas, your philosophies, your wisdom. There's something about sharing your journey, your processes, your experience. There's something here about, it's like, just being basically who you are and what you are, and that's it, right? So of course we all have dreams and visions. Of course you're going to have a dream and aim and goal. It's not saying to not pay attention to that, but it's saying your primary focus is sort of being in the now and just sharing. You know, how can you put yourself out there? How can you share your voice? How can you share your ideas and opinions? How can you share your philosophies? It's basically just sharing, speaking up, using your voice. There's something really important about that. Some of you may even resonate with the term channeling. You don't have to resonate with that term. It's not a term that I regularly use, although I appreciate it and understand what it means and would say I even experience it at certain times. With that said, you're focused on sharing your gifts with the world. So even if nothing else so far has resonated, it probably has, you're going to focus on sharing your gifts with the world. That's your main objective, is to share your gifts, share your gifts, share your gifts. So it's less about like hanging your hat on some perfect dream or like vision or whatever. And it doesn't mean you can't have those things. There's nothing wrong with it. But I think it's important for you, for whatever reason, to focus on the now and to focus on sharing your gifts with the world, because that's how your dream is going to gain momentum, is through the sharing of yourself, your journey, your processes, your ideas. There's something about you inspiring other people to come together, inspiring other people to grow, inspiring other people to heal, inspiring other people to make necessary changes. Through your experience, through your shares, through your wisdom, you inspire other people, right? So through your sharing your gifts with the world, you're inspiring other people. That's how your dream gains traction, okay? So it gains traction through your sharing your gifts with the world. Now, the thing is, though, as I'm reading this for you, I almost want to ask Spirit, well, what if they already are doing this? Like, what are we getting at here? Now, I would assume that for many of you, or perhaps even most of you, I don't think this is something new. It's basically giving you where to focus. And maybe this is the exact point, is it's keeping your focus here, okay? So I think sometimes when some of us, I know I can relate to this, you have like a picture or a vision or the goal, like we're talking about how to accomplish your goal, of how you want something to happen or how you want to experience it. But sometimes that can trip us up. And so it's almost like, it's not so much about like you haven't been already doing this and just being redundant by saying, keep doing what you're doing. It's like, no, this is where your focus lies, versus trying to get invested in a certain outcome right here, right now, or a certain outcome, or this person doesn't show up, or this amount of people or followers or whatever. I don't know what your specific dream is, but it's almost like you can kind of get hung up or stuck in the details. So your focus is always on sharing your gifts with the world. How can I share my gifts with the world now? And how can I share my gifts with the world now? What's the way that I would like to share my gifts with the world now, right? Because that's going to change sometimes, moment by moment, or maybe it's month to month or year by year or season by season. But the more you do that, the more your dream gains traction. And I want to even ask about gaining momentum, gaining traction. We'll see. Yeah, okay. So I feel like, again, there's been some kind of hiccup or stuckness or something. I'm not seeing exactly what that is just yet. I'm not getting any specifics. Sometimes I do, as you know, on this channel, and sometimes I don't. And I think sometimes it's because spirit knows what people get stuck on or hung up on, and they don't want to introduce more of that for the person to like ruminate over. And so they just stay focused on what's important, what's here and now. That's it. So we'll see if we get details. We might. But it's saying, the only thing that's been keeping you stuck is a personal issue that you have. There's something that you're getting hung up on within yourself. So if you're not sure what this is, I'm feeling a lot of stuck. There's something in my throat. So I don't know, for some of you, there's something there. But I feel like it was your own thoughts and emotions, like your own demons. You know, you've been battling your own demons and your own dragons to sort of up level, get to the next step. Like, it hasn't been so much of life holding you back or God holding you back or spirit or source or whatever you believe in, your higher power. It's not something outside of you in this particular case holding you back. It's been more or less, more so around you resolving whatever personal issues you might have that are preventing you from continuing to make forward progress and build momentum. And again, it might have something to do with where you put your focus and where you invest yourself. You guys hear a lot of noise. Oftentimes these videos, you don't hear the outside noise, and the reader is like, I'm sorry about the noise. I'm like, what noise? But I do have my son home today, and he is jumping all over the place. So I do apologize if you are hearing that. It comes with the territory sometimes. So this personal issue is coming to resolution. It's you making peace with yourself. You making peace with this you making peace with this demon. And then the question might be, how can you make peace with it, right? If you're not there yet, it's not something you want to force, and it's not something that's going to come necessarily mentally, because I think that's a lot of where your block or stuckness is. Not that I believe in block and stuckness as like a final thing. Blocks exist to the extent that we feed them. I keep having to pause to redirect my child. Taking turns here. So this is about you making peace with yourself, you making peace with your demons, you making peace with whatever's been stuck for you. All right. So you're making peace with yourself, this demon, maybe even making peace with your own upsets. Like, I think there's something here about being angry with life, or angry at something that didn't happen or work out in the past or whatever. There's a making peace with that needs to happen. That's going to help shift some of this energy. And I'm not yet getting what that is or what that looks like or what it will be, but I am. So maybe it wasn't a good idea.
Sorry.
So maybe it wasn't a good idea to have my son home today while I do this, but his dad is sick. So this is what we do. So you have to make peace with whatever that is. And I don't see that there's something in particular, like a specific tool or specific wisdom or specific advice or whatever that's coming through in terms of how to make peace with it. Maybe we'll get that with the next couple of cards. I think it's personal. I think it's individual. And ultimately it's a surrender from you, instead of like that prideful resistance of like pushing up against and fighting the way that it happened or the way that it was or the way that it has been. There's a surrendering there, a letting go and making peace with that's going to support the shifts into the next phase. Yeah, it's like, so it feels like your commitment is being tested, but I feel like you've kind of lost endurance. It's like there's only so many times you can get back up, right? You get knocked down, you get back up. You get knocked down, you get back up. You get knocked down, you get back up. Maybe the first 25 times somebody can do it. Then maybe the 65 times they start to get a little battle weary. And then you're at like 160 times and you're like, I don't have it in me to get up anymore. I feel like that's kind of where you've been with this. Where you kind of even, maybe there's a part of you that gave up or surrendered this dream or said, never mind, forget it. Now this is a different kind of surrender than what I was just pointing to about surrendering to, or surrendering sort of your upset or resistance with life or your anger or whatever, which has its own process. It's not something to be rushed or forced. Making peace with, you can't make peace with something by forcing it, right? It has to happen relatively naturally, organically. But ultimately it's saying at some point you gave up and said, F this, forget this. This is pointless. It's not going anywhere. Nothing's happening. It's not giving way, not opening up. There is no breakthrough. This is ridiculous. I would be crazy to continue getting up, right? It's like the boxer, like I said, who's been knocked out 160 times. Like, just forget it. Let me change a new career. Peace. And so you might be in that place. And so I think at this point in time, your work, your job, your objective, how to accomplish the goal. We talked about sharing your gifts and just focusing on the here and now, how to share your gifts, how you'd like to share your gifts right now, where they would best be kind of suited, like where your gift's best suited, like who are those people, or where is the platform? Like where can my gifts be used or utilized? Those might be great questions. But ultimately, this is about you choosing to take the stage again. You know, it's that energy of someone standing outside on the stage, and the stage is right here. There's a full house. Everyone's there and watching. There's a spotlight shining down on the stage, and you're standing right here. And ultimately, it's up to you to come out and to be seen again or shine again. Right now, you're on the side of the stage, kind of thinking about it, kind of edging around it, skirting around it, saying maybe, I don't know, but F this and F that, because look what has been done to me before. Last time I entered the ring, I was knocked out 165 times. No, thank you. So it's like there's nothing holding you back except yourself, right? So you're fighting yourself. It was you in the ring with yourself, ultimately. And it's not saying, like, I do feel like there's this energy of spirit or higher power, God source, saying to you, you know, we know it was hard. We know there was a lot that you were battling there. It's not like it was easy. There is this sort of reassuring message of it wasn't easy, you know, and it was a lot to take on, and you took a lot of hits. And ultimately, if you want to be, not that you actually want to be a world-renowned boxer, but, you know, that's like the metaphor here. If you want to be the world-renowned boxer, you got to enter the ring again. That's the only way to win this game. You got to play it. You got to enter the ring again, card pile 1. And some of you are going to be like, oh my God, woo! You know, some tears and oh my God. Because it's like, you know, that feeling of, oh, that is it. You know, I got to walk out on the stage again and take my place under the spotlight. I have to be willing to sing again. It reminds me of that song, Lady Gaga, where she says, I'll never love again. And I'm not that great of a singer, but I'm just sharing it with you. But the very like deep guttural part of that song is when she says, I'll never sing along, won't even write a song, I'll never love again. You know, and you look up the lyrics. I don't know the name of the song. Look up the lyrics. You can see the song is actually about a romance, but I think it was inspired by her experience with her father. But it was like the depth of your anguish and your defeat or your failure, whatever that was that happened to you, was so deep and so visceral and so gutting for you. You said, I'll never love again. You know, it has that energy where you're like, won't even write a song. You know, you're like done. But it's saying ultimately that's what your heart wants. And you know it. Your heart wants the spotlight again. Your heart wants the stage again. Your heart wants to enter the ring again. It's like, it's one of those things where it feels like you are a boxer, so you belong in the ring, right? Or you're a fighter, you belong in the ring. You are a singer, you belong on stage. You are a performer, you belong in the spotlight. It's like you already are that. And to deny that of yourself simply because of either your own demons or your demons that were developed as a result of life happenings that were outside of your control, it's like you are, the only thing you're hurting really is yourself. I do feel a big sort of missing out, that the world misses out on your gifts. It actually makes me tear up a little bit. Hear the emotions of that, of a world missing out on someone's talent, on someone's genius, and someone's wonderful gifts. The world would have been a different place had they entered the ring again, had they done their thing, had they sang their song. But so far you sort of chosen to sort of step outside of that and haven't really truly readied yourself to enter the ring again or the stage with that brave face and be able to stand there anchored. But ultimately that's going to be something that you have to give yourself permission to. But a boxer belongs in the ring. A singer belongs on the stage. Like, you belong there. You already are that. So the only thing you're hurting really, aside from the world grieving the loss of something they never experienced, simply because you wouldn't allow yourself to show up for yourself anymore, you also miss out on who you already are. Again, these aren't things you have to like make happen or force happen. Like, these are already like skills, genius, talents you already have. And so it's almost like you are this, and to deny that of yourself is to deny who you are. You are meant to take that stage again. This is about you coming out of the cave and no longer fearing persecution, failure, defeat, and expressing yourself as you are, right? The boxer has to express himself. The fighter belongs in the ring, those kinds of things. I think there was a lingering message here or something of that nature. Give me a moment. A part of you fears it. You're scared because you don't know, all right, if you go out on the stage, any number of things could happen. Maybe it would never work out. Maybe someone throws a tomato at you. I mean, those are ridiculous, but just kind of giving you some examples, like metaphor kinds of things. But I think you're scared of it. You're scared of the spotlight. You're scared of what could happen again, what could come of this again. You know, maybe I'll be knocked out again 165 times. And maybe part of the journey is accepting that. Now, in your energy field right now, I don't sense there would yet be an acceptance of that because you'd already been on the stage if that was the case. But instead of seeing it like, if I was a true boxer, if I was a true singer, if I was a true performer, if I was a true entertainer, if I was a true channeler, whatever your gift giving is, your gift giving ability is, if I was a true blank, I would experience blank. And then you kind of put your goal or dream or vision on that and say, oh, that's what I should have already by now or a long time ago if this was really meant for me, if this was really true for me, you know, if I was worthy enough or worthwhile enough or whatever. And instead it's saying, no, a real boxer keeps on entering the ring. There is no like, you know, what is it called? Like small font that says, we guarantee victory. No. A real boxer isn't someone who is a victor. The real boxer just keeps showing up. Right? The singer keeps singing her song. The writer keeps writing her book. The speaker keeps sharing her voice, etc., etc., etc. It was never about what was going to happen at the long end or over the long course. It was always about, right, sharing your gifts for the sake of sharing your gifts, for the sake of sharing your gifts, for the sake of sharing your gifts. It was always about that. So card pile 1, your dream is assume victory. Number 1, assume victory in the expression of yourself, meaning nothing needs to come except for the expression of yourself. But I do believe there's great victory here. So for some of you, massive victory. For some of you, massive victory. Victory you can't possibly conceive of at this time. With that said, the focus that wants to be given is that assuming victory as you enter the ring, assuming victory because you're there, assuming victory because you're on the stage. Like the victor isn't the one who won the fight. It's the one who is willing to enter the ring. The willingness piece, the willing to show up no matter what, the willingness to show up no matter the outcome, the willingness to show up come hell or high water, rain or shine, victory or failure. That's the true victor, the one who's willing to show up no matter what. So card pile 1, that is your reading. I do want to hear your stories from you. So please let me know. I think this is a very special reading. I'd love to hear back from you. If you find you enjoy this reading, please like, subscribe, press the bell icon. If you want to get to know more about me, check out my social media, my website, and I look forward to seeing you around. Thank you, card pile 1. All right, card pile 2, how to accomplish your dream, aim, or goal. So what I'm feeling for you, card pile 2, is I feel like you're looking for something, searching for something, hoping or waiting for something. I feel like it sort of has the energy. This isn't necessarily going to connect for everybody, but at least it's opening the reading to kind of help us find the rest of the energies that are here. And it's sort of like waiting for full moon, but it's new moon. It's like you're like, but a full moon could just be here, but it's new moon, right? So there's almost something like, it could mean that perhaps you wish there was more at this point. You know, you wish your manifestation was here. You wish your manifestation was here, or maybe you don't understand why it's not here. Maybe it's, you know, you're saying, well, how can I get to the full moon? I'm at new moon, like nothing's in the sky. How do I actually bring this into full manifestation? I feel like what you've been encountering a lot so far on your journey, on your quest, on your path is a lot of your own shadows, a lot of your own demons. I think you've experienced a lot of sort of detours or obstacles. I'm feeling like this does remind me of card pile 1 to a degree, but it's also a very different feeling where I think you get in your own way, more or less. So you're experiencing sort of triggers or issues or whatever where there quote unquote are none. And it doesn't mean, it's not meant to be insensitive to be like, oh, well, there's nothing here, so what's your problem? It's saying like the path is more or less relatively clear, but you're seeing obstacles where there are none. You know, you're assuming a problem where there is none. You're assuming there's some kind of upset, even though there isn't one. It's almost like you get easily distracted or detoured from the path by making, it doesn't feel like the energy of making a mountain out of a molehill. It's not that. It's almost like the path is clear, and I think that you're just hoping there was a bigger payday or outcome or reward for the energy or the effort that you've already put in. But what it's saying is, well, like you're just right now, you're laying the foundation. So whatever you're doing right now, you're laying the foundation. Now, maybe you didn't realize that. Maybe you didn't know that. If you didn't, That's what it's telling you, is focusing on right now. You're laying the foundation here. You might not see all of the quote unquote fruits yet of your labor when you're just building the foundation. So think of a house. When they build a house or a building, they have to put all the structures up first. There's no house. You don't see any windows. There's not a special home there yet. Like there's nothing that cool or even worth seeing necessarily. It's like some brick and stone and some planks and all sorts of stuff. It's like, well, that's not that exciting. So I feel like for you, you're sort of asking, you're putting the cart before the horse a little bit, where you're asking, why isn't it working out, or what's going on, or what's wrong, when there's nothing wrong at all. It's just that you're not to the final manifestation point. You're in the process of laying the brick by brick. You're in the process of laying the track, right? One track after the next, after the next. That's what builds the full train track. Someone who has started a train track, for example, let's just say they have laid 200 tracks. At the 200th track, if you were the person actually laying it manually, I'm sure we have machines that do that now, but back in the day they had people do it. Let's just say you've done 200. It's been a long day. It's out in the sun. It's 4 p.m. You've spent the day since dawn laying 200 tracks, let's just say. That 200th track, you feel pretty dang exhausted. And you're like, where in the world? What in the world? When is this train going to run? And when is this track going to be done? Because I am done. And yet it's only day one. You've only laid 200 tracks. And there's 20,000, 200,000 more to go. Does that make sense? Now, for some of you, you're going to be like, oh God, Errity, you just made this worse for me, not better. Well, first of all, stay focused on the present of laying just down that first track without, as best as you can. It's hard as humans. Hey, I'm the same way, of like looking a step ahead and looking the next 10, 20, 30, 40, 200 steps. It's like the most you can do for yourself right now is focus on exactly what you're doing right now. The one step, the single step, the only step. Give it your all, finish it, follow it all the way through, see it all the way through until completion, done. Then move to the next step. Just that one, see it all the way through, just like you would if you were laying train tracks, right? You'd have to, whatever it is that they did, they had hammers of some kind and material of some kind and and it took probably several minutes, if not significantly more, to get that one down. Once that was done, they moved to the next one. And they took all the time and the detail in the world to do this next one. Then that's done. All right, move on to the next one. That's very different than being like, okay, it's kind of done, sorted, on to the next thing. Okay, it's kind of done, sorted, on to the next thing. And 20 things down, 200 things down, I still have 200,000 more of these to go. Very different energies, right? And it's saying right now you're focusing on, or your focus should be on, it's not even like the focus, it's saying like you're laying the foundation of this manifestation, of this dream, of this aim. You're laying the foundation right now. Let it be just the foundation. It's not going to be the pinnacle. It's not going to be the cream of the crop, the tippity top, the highest point of manifestation, because you're just laying the foundation. So many of you have either just started out, or perhaps you've been relatively persistent but not consistent, or consistent enough, where you stopped and started and turned around, went forward and detoured and derailed and circled around again, hamster wheel, and came back to it. It's kind of like you laid the train track, but went back at 5 steps and then came back to the current one and kind of decided, do I want to continue to this one? Back again, back and forth, unsure, haven't moved forward. Do you see that? So you might think to yourself, oh my gosh, I put in all this effort already. Like, what do you mean the foundation? I'm still at the foundation level? And the reading is saying, well, yes. And, part of you, I might also be angry or bitter about that. Don't blame you. I'm a human too. With that said, it's saying that's why the question is always, the lingering question, is it worth it to you? Because it does start with the new moon to get to the full moon, right? It does start with one train track to cover eventually the full track. It's going to be one step at a time, one brick at a time. And each of those things need to be laid and done properly and done well for you to move on to the next one. Because if they're not, that might get a little shaky. And then you have a shaky foundation and it won't last forever anyway. So it's like giving each step, each moment, the time, attention, precision, energy that it needs so that it can be like full and polished and complete, so that it's just so, if it's like a brick in a wall, so that when you put the next brick down, that too can be just so, and the next brick can be just so. And then you have a really solid, strong foundation to hold whatever manifestation it is that you're trying to create or build. But it does matter. This detail right here, this moment right here, this focus right here, this project right here, it's like giving it focus, seeing it through all the way to the end, all the way through to completion. All right, then to the next one, following those same steps. Then to the next one. It's going to be very helpful for you, card pile 2, to not give too much attention to how far along you are or not, to how much you're doing or not, to how much you've taken steps backward or not. All that stuff's going to keep you in that same hamster wheel. For you, it's very important that you focus just on the present moment, the present step, see that through to completion. So there's a lot of people that kind of need, and you might be that person, but still, like they need that carrot, right? It's big vision, the carrot at the top of like the final big end game manifestation for them to have any motivation to even do this. For you, it's going to be much better, at least in terms of you actually seeing something all the way through, seeing something to completion to give yourself enough, pride of accomplishment basically, and then additional gusto, motivation to keep going, or gusto, whichever. But it's like you focus on just that step. See that as your whole manifestation. That's your only focus right now. You want to give that your time, energy, precision, attention. Maybe that takes 2 months. Maybe it takes 2 years. But at least you finish that one step. See that one all the way through to completion. Done. Then to the next one. All the way through to completion. Done. That's totally different from, frazzling because you're looking at everything. Or like, again, looking all these steps back and then looking ahead and wondering how it's going to work out. None of that. Pick the project you want to give focus to, even if it's a teeny tiny step. That's your attention. That's your focus. Done. So let me give you an example. I'm going to give you a couple very, very simplistic ones. But of course, this reading is very visionary and big. So we're not focusing on any particular creative expression or outlet or career path or purpose path or any of that stuff. So you have to apply it to your own experience. But let's just say you want to learn how to play guitar. Let's just say your end goal is to be able to play 50 songs on guitar. You want to see yourself maybe even doing live music, right? On live venues. So you're thinking about that, but you're getting all sort of, your pants in a bundle because that hasn't happened yet. But let's just say you haven't even bought the guitar yet, right? So your first step is to purchase a guitar. So maybe that even requires you to save up for 6 months, pay for the guitar, and then your next step, once that's done to completion, you bought the guitar, you have it in your arms, ta-da! Now it's learn the first song. Okay. So then you're going to give that your all. Maybe that takes you another 6 months. Maybe you don't have a lot of time in your hands. Maybe your energy is going to all these different things, but you know what? In 6 months, you've learned a song. There is this saying, and I don't know it exactly, but I'm going to give it the similar vibe. It's like people tend to overestimate what they can do in a year, but underestimate what they can do in 10 years. So it kind of has that vibe of, you might overestimate what you can do in a day or a month and then kind of kick yourself because you didn't achieve it all. But then you're underestimating really what you can do in the long term if you just started now with the things that you can do. Does that make sense? So anyway, your next step is going to be learning the one song, but that's a really random example. It could be, let's just say you want to work on social media, share your work on social media and work with other people. Maybe as a mentor, coach, counselor, something like that. And for you, let's just say your first step is starting an email sequence. That's it. You're not thinking about your social media marketing. You're not thinking about taking this course or program and this, that, and the other. You're not thinking about when you're going to make $600,000 a year. You're not thinking, none of that's even your focus at all. Your focus is literally just on, your singular focus is on email sequence. So you might first research how to do that. That might take you 6 weeks. You're like, all right, got that done under my belt. We're assuming here you don't have the resources to hire out, but you could. Then after 6 weeks, you're like, yes, all right, now I know how to do it. Now I got to pick my, MailChimp, whatever. You got to pick your person, whatever. Okay, I don't have the verbiage for this, but then you pick that, right? And then you're like, all right, got it done. Now the next thing is building my first introductory email. I haven't even touched a full email sequence. I haven't touched any of this stuff. I haven't even gained one email, all right? You do that. Okay, maybe that takes 6 months. I mean, it's not going to take 6 days to build that one email, or 6 hours, but then you're done with that. You see what I'm saying? You're focusing on the morsel that you're chewing right now, and you're swallowing that and maybe even eliminating it before you take your next bite. You see what I'm saying? Versus trying to do the whole mouthful, get yourself really thrown off, because especially the bigger the bite that you try to take, the more the resistance in you, and you're going to find any reason to squeal, get scared, run away, self-destruct, self-sabotage, etc. It's going to be really good for you, and it keeps coming through for you to focus on what's here and now, nothing else, nothing more, until that's brought through all the way to completion. Let's see what else is here. Yes, it's saying your hard work is paying off. Your hard work is paying off. You are building the foundation, and yet it's still right now a foundation. One brick at a time, one brick at a time, one brick at a time. Let that be enough. It is enough, knowing that with each brick you give a precise attention to and energy and love and care to. As long as you bring it all the way to completion, it doesn't matter how long it takes, that's a brick. And then the next one, it doesn't matter how long that takes, that's another brick. And then you keep doing it, and eventually you're going to look back however long it takes, and you're going to have this monumental manifestation. In this example, maybe it's a giant skyscraper, maybe it's a mansion or whatever, and you're like, holy crap, like I built that with my bare hands, brick by brick. And you didn't even look back or even notice that you were doing it. Why? Because you were just focusing on one single brick at a time without putting so much pressure on yourself to build the mansion, right? You weren't focused on that. And the sort of underside of this message is when you do get focused on the big mansion or the big manifestation or the thing, that's when you sort of get derailed off course and start to lose focus and start to kind of throw yourself off, get in your own way, sort of dig a hole and get yourself caught up in your own little hamster wheel and you're unable to get out. It's really important that you focus on little steps and one step at a time all the way through to completion until you move on to the next one. Yeah, and it's being good and kind to yourself on the way, like being loving to yourself, compassionate to yourself. You don't want this whole project to be run by your inner critic. You better do it good, or else if you don't have it done by the end of the day, you're out of your ultimatums, threats, criticisms, harsh words, whatever. It's like, that's not the kind of foundation you want to build for yourself. Not for this, not for something this special. This isn't about criticizing yourself, threatening or punishing yourself into submission and into being a good girl and doing what you're told. This isn't about you better do this or else. This is something that you want. This is your heart's desire. This is something for you and for no one else. It doesn't have to go fast. It doesn't have to be tomorrow. It doesn't have to be overnight. It doesn't have to have any rules or conditions at all unless you put them there. And even then, you don't have to do that, right? You can, this is about you letting this be enjoyable, number one, but also taking really good care of yourself on the way up. Again, if we go back to the metaphor of the bricklayer and the track layer, if they're, again, cursing themselves by 4 p.m. on the first day, good luck to them. They're probably going to quit that track or that job by 2 months in. That's just the way that it is. And if they don't, they'll just be cursing themselves all the way, and then eventually they'll make the mansion. And instead of feeling accomplished or proud or excited or any of that, even enjoying that accomplishment, like, F this, glad that job's over, move on to the next one. Now, that's not how you want to treat all of your work, your effort, your energy, and your creations, right? This is about loving yourself all the way through this, not being so hard on yourself, letting this be easier, and remembering that your past does not dictate your future. You might think or assume that it's going to go bad or wrong or whatever, or you're not worthy, or what you're doing isn't enough, and it's not good enough, and et cetera, all but based on your past. And you might believe that your past can cloud your future or seep into your future or destroy and poison everything now, yourself or your creations. And it's like, no, the only way that it does is if you decide it does. If you make it about threats and punishment and criticism and being hard on yourself, you have now let your past dictate your present and your future. But if you choose to do this differently, and you choose to love yourself through it, and you choose to be careful and honoring of yourself, laying it brick by brick with utmost precision and kindness and care for the manifestation, but also for yourself, you're going to find that the past doesn't actually have a hold on you. It only has a hold on you when you allow it to be so because of the way that you treat yourself. So card pile 2, how do you accomplish this goal? First of all, it's going to be through treating yourself well, and then allowing this manifestation to be a step-by-step process where you bring each single step to full completion before you move on to the next. That's the only thing that you're focusing on so that you don't get tripped up. All right, card pile 2, I look forward to hearing your comments. Do like, subscribe, and press the bell icon. If you want to get to know more about me, my work, you can check out my social media platforms and or my website below. Thank you, card pile 2. All right, card pile 3, how to accomplish your goal, dream, or aim. So something tells me card pile 3, and we're not quite there yet in the sequence of the cards, but it's like the lingering energy, so I want to share it, where you might have either been through a dark time or dark period, either that's in the past, the recent past, or you're going through it now. And you might be curious, perhaps on one hand, you're going through a dark night of the soul, or at least a deep healing period, maybe on your way out, but it does feel like the recent past. I would say that's where most of the people who choose card pile 3 are going to fall. It's more the recent past, maybe not the distant past right now, but you've been through a dark period, and it was like trying to hold the vision of what it is you wanted to create in the world, while also tending to yourself, letting yourself heal and letting yourself be repaired and put back together again, kind of thing. And there's this energy that, first of all, there's nothing wrong with that. Then, being or needing to take a time out to heal for yourself. And I feel like maybe there was some challenge, and maybe you get angry with yourself or hold it against yourself as quickly as you wanted, or as big or bold as you wanted it. But that was because you were going through a challenging time. So on one hand, you were holding yourself through this dark period, challenging period, healing period, dark night of the soul, through an experience that was supporting you to come out stronger, that was ultimately bringing you into a greater embodiment, more expansiveness, that you would be able to hold this vision and hold this destiny for yourself. It was serving you. It was almost like you were becoming bigger, breaking through old limitations, that you could actually be able to hold this vision, this dream, this destiny. But ultimately, it brought you so much pain and anguish. There was so much of a crumbling. It was difficult to sort of simultaneously hold on to this part of yourself and tend to yourself, the human part of you, as all of this crumbled, this old identity, and maybe your life or parts of your life crumbled, while you were also trying to manifest or make this vision big or happen, right? It was just, I feel like, a lot of pressure, and maybe you succumbed to that pressure and gave up, or you simply didn't know how to hold both. And so maybe you had to take a time out, or had to take a break, or maybe you let it go altogether. Or maybe you're still in even a confused place of not even knowing where you're at, where it's like, you've come a long way and you've healed a lot. You sort of patched yourself together again and put the pieces back together again. And you are feeling, better, or a little bit better. Like you're coming at the tail end of this. And at the same time, you might be confused as to, well, where do I go now? Or what happens now? You might have had this big dream or destiny or vision, again, that you were holding before, and that was really important to you, but it sort of crumbled along with you as this old identity died, right? And as you were sort of giving birth to something new. But I feel like you are at least halfway there. So I want to let you know that for some people, you're going to be like so annoyed because you're halfway. I should be like 100% there. But for some of you, you're like, great, halfway there. Excellent. That really motivates me. But I feel like you're at least halfway there. Like, and we're talking about like, the pinnacle of success for whatever that looks like for yourself. Halfway there is still pretty darn good. So, no reason to be hard on yourself, or, have any reason to not be easy on yourself. But let's see what's here. It's like, I think part of the message is allowing yourself to return to the vision again. Returning to what it is that you truly want for yourself. I feel like you were burned pretty badly. I don't mean actually physically, but you went through a very challenging, difficult time where it's almost like you kind of gave up on everything. And so I feel like you're sort of teetering or skirting around it, edging around this dream, not even knowing if you can bear your heart wide open to receive this dream again, because it just feels so monumental. It feels like touching a hot stove. Like, how can I dare touch this, to be that vulnerable again, and potentially for another loss? How could I do it after I've already done so much and been through so much and healed so much? It's like someone who, really random example, guys, but it reminds me of someone who was we'll say deep sea diver, right? Or maybe they're a surfer or a paddle boarder, and they went out into the ocean, or maybe in a tournament or whatever, and they got bitten by a great white shark. And you guys, I know it's random, but hear me out. And so they go to the hospital, they have to rehabilitate, and it takes 2 years, and they're finally back on the water. Can you imagine the terror, but also maybe even excitement, but also agony, and all those kind of bizarre, conflicted feelings to have to enter that water again, to face yourself again, to go at it again, to try it again, to risk it all again? But then again, a paddleboarder's got to be a paddleboarder, and a surfer's got to be a surfer, and a deep sea diver's got to be a deep sea diver, right? There's no getting around it. And so your heart was going to call you to the sea, back to your dream, back to the destiny, whether you got hurt or not, liked it or not, or feel like you can do it or not. So I feel like you are being beckoned again. That's kind of the energy that I get. It reminds me of Moana in the movie, where she keeps being beckoned to the sea, and she doesn't even know why, but she feels called to it all the time. And ultimately, eventually, it brings about her greatest manifestation, but also her greatest healing, right? And her greatest sovereignty and independence, and so on and so forth. And so your dream is delivering you to your highest self, and your highest self is delivering you to your greatest dream, knowing that all of this is relevant and purposeful for you, and it's all leading you to the place that you want to go. But there is something about you're being beckoned toward this dream again, but I feel like there's a part of you that holds back because it's scared. Again, just like if it were that deep sea diver standing at the edge of that water thinking, I really want to do this. It's in my heart. Like I have no choice but to do this. You know, I can't not do this again, but it's really hard for me to dip my toe in the water, and even harder to bring it to the knees and to the thighs. And then I might have to run out again and go back in. And I feel like being easy on yourself and compassionate with yourself is important right now as you move toward where you're beckoned, as you reintroduce yourself to old experiences and try or go at it again. I think being really, really compassionate with yourself is really important here. Not being hard on yourself. You know, if you didn't go too far or too long, or if you're making it be about it has to happen in a certain amount of time and all this stuff, you know, that's only going to make it harder on you. This is actually your process. So it gets to be whatever your process is. Like if it takes you 60 years to go back into that water again and deep sea dive on your 65th birthday. Well, you wouldn't be 5 when you did that, but you know what I'm saying? Then so be it. Then so be it. It's your process. There's no other time scale or timeline but your process. And that is number one. That's the most important. It doesn't have to be any further along or faster than that, right where you're at. So that's number one importance. I feel like at times you have prayed or asked for support or clarity or guidance, because I feel like this has been something that's really been big for you. I mean, can you imagine someone, and you're like, well, yeah, duh, because I picked Card Pile 3. Can you imagine someone who loved wakeboarding or whatever, right? Or back to the surfing or whatever, and they get bit by a shark, and then it's like, now they're having to face their ultimate fear in order to be themselves, number one. Number two, submit to their calling or participate in their calling. And last but not least, manifest their destiny. That's a tall order. That's a tall order. How can we put a spoonful of sugar in here, baby? That's what I'm asking. A spoonful of sugar, is it in here? Probably not. Usually no sugar for spirit. No offense. No offense, spirit. But usually it's pretty fucking hard. It's like cinnamon down your throat. It's nothing else. But anyways, the soul sees no black and white or positive and negative, does it? So it's all sugar. Anyway, my rant is over on that. But I feel like you've really yearned for support, begged for clarity, wanted to know your path, your way forward, because I feel like whatever this loss was, this grave loss was, challenged all of your beliefs. It challenged your entire identity. Everything changed. Everything was turned upside down. You know, you didn't know left from right, right from left, up from down, down from up. And it was a very challenging experience for you, where it's almost like you don't even know your footing anymore. It's like, whoa, whoa. Reminds me of Inception, that movie. And so you're a little wobbly, and so I feel like you don't even know where to start, where to begin, how you'd re-enter the playing field, et cetera, et cetera. So you've asked for help, you've asked for support, and I wonder if you feel like you've gotten it. I am curious, we'll find out. But you are being assured you are not alone. You are not alone. Your ancestors, your angels, your support system stand beside you. This was always about you gaining your wings, by the way. It was always about you gaining your wings. It was never about clipping them. It was about gaining them. So keep that in mind. Yeah, so you want this to... It's like, to whatever degree you required in the past healing, or even now, it's like give yourself the space and the breathing room for that healing. The most important piece is your healing, or the healing, because that's what ends up delivering you or leading you to where you want to go, whatever that goal, aim, or accomplishment is. The healing is what brings you there, not all this other external stuff, or the steps we think we need to take, or the things we think we need to do, or whatever overnight things we think have to happen. It's not that. It's saying your healing is what matters. Your healing leads you there. So give yourself the space and breathing room to do it without rush, without force, without expectancy, without entitlement. It's like, again, your process gets to be your process, and everything follows that, not the other way around. Not that you're trying to catch up or that you're missing out on something. It was always about your process first and foremost, and everything else unfolds from there. But this was a deep initiation for you. I do always want to ask why, but I do feel like it's spiritual in nature. It was something your soul intended for. Also, it was always meant to challenge your own self-image / self-limitations, maybe even the things that you believe to be true or not, or otherwise. It was supposed to bring you to a more self-loving state, and I feel like it's going to support you to stand on your own 2 feet when and if you have you manifest this higher vision. There might be more reasons for each of you individually or personally, but this initiation was important in terms of the manifestation of your greater destiny. I do want to ask why though. Why did this happen for Card Pile 3? Do we have they just give me the tower. Thanks. I already knew that. Well, this is interesting. Now, listen, you guys, this isn't going to be personal to everybody. This reading is for sure a much grander, broader, kind of universal, visionary kind of reading, where we rarely get specific and you have to apply what's here to your particular circumstance. But the energies I'm getting is to actually not take life so seriously. A part of what you were learning is to learn to kind of dust your shoulder off, to make things not a non-issue, to not take things personally, to be more lighthearted or light and easy about your journey, to sort of be more adaptive to shifts that happen, to ups and downs that happen, to quote unquote failures and defeats. If you guys have seen the real guy on Instagram, the real guy, there's like a million reels, but I don't know his name, and I feel so bad that I don't, but you can look it up, I'm sure, on Google or wherever, where it's rich versus really rich. Guarantee the guy's going to pop up. He does these reels, and he basically talks about how rich people operate and how really rich people operate. And this is so enlightening, and I absolutely love his reels. I actually watch hardly any reels. I don't know, look at my age. I'm just not someone who watches reels, but I do and will search out his reels. And what I love is, like, here's an example. A rich person, okay, so watch his reels, get a feel for them after this, or pause it right now and go look it up and get a feel for what I mean, because this is what I'm going to tell you. You'll notice the kind of image he portrays and what he shares. The rich kind of person in this scenario, there was a failure or defeat, he would be operating in this way where it blows him over. I mean, this is going to happen to everyone the first time, but you'll see what I'm getting to when I get there, where it just bowls him over. He doesn't know what to do. He's depressed. He's lost himself completely. He's every night at the bar. Doesn't even know what to do with himself anymore. He isolates. He disappears into his house, and he's lost himself completely. Bills are going unpaid, as much money as he has, and he just doesn't know what to do with himself, right? That might be someone who's rich, who's dealt with this kind of similar experience. Really rich, how they act like, they're like, oh, okay, all right, I'm going to give you a call tomorrow. All right, cool. You see what I'm saying? Totally different, where it's like as you go higher up, sort of, and the level of consciousness, not to make it a hierarchy, but there is a maturation to this and a growth and evolution process to this. There is something to sort of someone who's quote unquote more healed. And again, even that's hierarchical, not exactly the road I want to go down, but you'll notice as you grow, rich versus really rich, it's right there in that example where it's like nothing phases them, okay? If there's actually one of the reels is, the really rich guy calls his Swiss bank account and finds out he's negative 8,000 francs or whatever it is. And he's like, oh, okay, that's cool. So all the money's working somewhere and we're just currently negative. And the guy's like, yeah. And he's like, all right, cool. So most people have had negative $8,000 of any sort. They're like, what am I going to do? What's happening? And this guy's just taking it in stride. Dirt off the shoulder. No big deal. On to the next one. He's adaptive. He's responsive versus reactive. He's treating everything as feedback. Okay, all right, I just got to take care of that. It's more about not even like problem solving, but we could call it that. It's more about using the experiences of life as feedback and just adapting our responses. Bada bing, bada boom, done. On to the next one. Versus, whoa, and there's nothing wrong with having emotional responses, by the way. Let's get real. And some things we're always going to be emotional about. Loss of a loved one, chronic or debilitating illness. Okay, sure. Okay, but we're saying that as we kind of sort of climb up the ladder of human evolution or consciousness, we're going to find we're much less debilitated or thrown off course or devastated or completely at a loss the further we go, because we've learned, right? It's like the second or third loss or the second or third failure or defeat hurts way less than that first one, right? The first heartbreak is always the worst. Maybe you're brokenhearted with life itself, with the dream, with the vision. You went through a heartbreak. You went through a loss. Let that be what that is, right? Don't force it. Don't rush it. We're not forcing the healing. You get to be heartbroken. You got to be heartbroken. You get to be heartbroken. And you can't force a broken heart to heal, but you can start to open your heart a little more. You can start to become more available to this dream or vision again. You can dip your toe in the water and play around a little bit. Right? You can start to circle around it, edge around it, dip your toe in the water, like we said. And so part of what you were learning through this initiation was to not make mountains out of molehills. It was to be a little bit more lighthearted, to learn to dance with life, right? To be a little bit more responsive and adaptive. And we could even say it's sort of like evolutionary, where you let life's feedback and life's experience evolve you without destroying you. right? It's the whole, you're getting stronger every time. So you let it serve you and serve the vision as opposed to take from you or make it bad or worse. Does that make sense? You're becoming more of yourself, not less. So there was something here in learning not to take anything too bad, too wrong, too personally, make anything too big of an issue or too much of a challenge, or emotionally invest yourself in every little hiccup that ever was, right? So go check out Rich and Really Rich. You're kind of moving toward that really rich paradigm where you're kind of taking everything in stride and just working with life. And as things come up, because they will, you put out the fire, you do what you need to do, and you carry on, right? There is no kind of big deal. Okay, what else is here? Yeah, taking the time to exhale. I feel like this was a part of your journey too, is taking the time to give yourself space, to give yourself breathing room, to give yourself tending to time where you're able to sort of patch up your wounds, tend to your wounds, lick your wounds as you need to. And even doing so proactively. So if you find that something isn't processing, taking the time and space to process it. If you find that you're getting ill, taking the time and space to get better. If you find that you're hurting about something, taking the time and space to work through that. Maybe before you were a little bit more bullheaded and pushed through and forced through things and didn't allow yourself the time that you really needed to tend to yourself, to your emotional self, to your emotional body. I do feel like that was something that you were learning as well in terms of being more proactive with your journey instead of reactive. So that was going to be important for you. Let's see what else. Yeah, a lot of this is calling back your power as well, coming into a more empowered position when it comes to your dream or vision versus a disempowered one, right? The one of more feeling like a victim, like it didn't work out, it didn't happen for me, I failed, I'm defeated. I would say that's more of a embodiment of feeling victimized. It's normal to feel victimized by other people and by life. And sometimes we are actually victimized, and that's okay. But it is also helpful to be aware of where we're aligning with that, because entering your dream again or your vision as a victim isn't going to be the kind of energy that you want to enter it with. You want to step in as victor. You want to step in with the mindset of victory, with empowerment, with knowing yourself, trusting yourself. Again, wanting to have fun and enjoy life and dance with life again. It's going to be more about that than it is about beating yourself up. So card pile 3, finishing up here is that finish taking the time that you need to heal, to patch things up, to get into that more empowered state, not feeling like you have to rush yourself. And then there was another message. What was it? Give me a second. Remembering not to take everything personally, not to take everything to heart, not letting anything or everything thwart your progress or throw you off path or derail you. There is, I feel like, ongoing healing that needs to happen so that you're able to embody this and maintain that. And you're going to find that you're going to have hiccups. And some days you're going to need a life raft, and some days you're going to be able to swim full force, and some days you're not going to enter the water at all. That is totally fine. It's trusting your path, trusting your process, trusting your progress, and allowing it to unfold organically as it will. We know for card pile 3 that your vision is, or your dream, your destiny is assumed. It's inevitable. It's not something that you really have to work and strive for. Of course, you have to take action toward it, steps toward it. But at the end of the day, this feels like just a part of you, not necessarily something you have to force or make happen, right? It just feels like a magician is magic. They don't have to try to be magic or make magic. A magician is magic, right? It's kind of that energy where it's a package deal. This is a part of your life, a part of who you are, a part of your manifest destiny, so to speak. So it's not something you have to necessarily work for or make happen. So knowing that, and in knowing that and having awareness of that, hopefully that'll give you some peace or peace of mind that this is going to happen. It's inevitable no matter what. Right now is your time to heal. Go inward, tend to yourself, allow this time, allow this exhale. And you will find at the very bottom of this exhale, when you finally get there, that you will be ready to inhale again, i.e. receive, i.e. experience this vision, re-enter the water, do the thing, whatever that is for you, just at the right time. Is there anything else that wants to come through here for card pile 3? I don't think so. I think that's it for you, card pile 3. So I want to thank you for watching. Do share your comments, your feedback below. Please do subscribe, or press the bell icon. That way you receive notifications every single time a new reading pops up. If you want to get to know more about me, you can check me out on social media or my website below. Thank you, card pile 3.